in my mind, is irrational. Well, I've tapped the tambourine a bit, but it is an environmental talk. And I joked with you about what might happen if we lost the Gulf Stream. But what would happen if we lost the Gulf Stream? Well, we wouldn't have all that warm air and warm water coming to our coast here. So if we travel around the planet on the same latitude to where the Gulf Stream doesn't reach, we can see what would happen. This is a very similar latitude to here. It's almost the same latitude. This is Prince Albert National Park in central Saskatchewan in the winter. -40. Taiga, Arctic forest. Yeah, Arctic forest. This is what it looks like at the same latitude where the Gulf Stream doesn't affect us in winter. It's a very interesting area because one of my great heroes lived here. This is the shores of a lake called Lake Ajawan, and there's this cabin on the shore lake there. Here you can see it. And in this cabin in the 1930s lived an Englishman called Archie Bellany. He'd gone to Canada in the belief that he could become an American Indian, and the world came to know him through his writings as Grey Owl. Nobody really knew that he wasn't an Indian. He did a pretty good job of it. The only people close to him that realised. And he was a conservationist, maybe 100 years ahead of his time. So far in advance of anything else. He is still credited with saving the beaver in Canada. I'm sure he gave a talk here in Liverpool, maybe in this building, I don't know. And he went all over Britain talking. And I actually don't think it's possible to find a better message for this season, for this series of talks, than the one he left us back in the 1930s. And this is what he said. Remember, you belong to nature, not it to you. Thank you. We have time for a few questions, so you have to make your way to a microphone though, so let's have a little look. You have to come up to the mic. Come up to the mic, young man. Oh, it's a tall microphone. What's your question?
When you were younger, did you have any other... When you were younger, did you have any other ambitions apart from survival?
Did I have any other ambitions apart from survival? I had lots of interests when I was young, all sorts of interests, and I think that that's a really healthy thing. You have to explore the world and do as many things as you can when you're young, so you find the things that you really like doing. I think today, people see me on television, and that's very, very seductive. You get, there are a lot of people studying to be vets and to be forensic scientists because there are programs about those subjects. But there are lots of other things in the world too. And I think when you're young, the thing is to go out and explore the world, and don't just follow television. Go out and find things for yourself, which is what I did, until you find what interests you. And then if you can, make a career from it. Yes, at the top there, lady at the top there.
Hi. You talked about survival being about respecting all the creatures around you, and I believe there's been a fragmentation of human relations. So I wondered, in your meetings with indigenous peoples, did you discover anything about community that you think we could bring back to the West?
Yes. I think there is one really strong thing that I really like that I see, and I've seen it the most strongly in Canada, maybe because the Canadian Indians speak English and can express their attitude in a way that I can directly understand. But it's something I've seen elsewhere, but they enunciate. They talk about going out on the land. And that means to go camping. They'll use modern camping equipment, just as we do, so they're little tents, but they'll go out with their family for a week, 2 weeks, a 3-week trip, whatever, and they go out to the same spot, their tribal territory. They cook traditional foods, they'll fish, they hunt, they live together as a community, they play games in the evening, they tell the stories of their ancestors, those just gone, those from a long while ago. And this sense of being out on the land is very real. And even people in their 80s, I've seen people in their 80s out at -40, -50, loving it, because it's where they come from. And it's this sense of community, of having spent time together. And they were trying to do that about twice a year. And I think that's something that we could all do. Maybe this year that's going to happen, because with the recession and what's going on politically, a lot of people are staying at home and going camping this year. So there's a great opportunity, despite all the nonsense going in the world around us.
Hi Ray. I'm a big admirer of the way that your programmes depict survival skills and bushcraft in a proper context. What I'm personally concerned with are other TV programmes which sensationalise these skills in almost adventurising the concept of survival, you know, in terms of like eating creatures for effect. And I'm just concerned this might encourage people to go into the wilderness with this one-dimensional mind frame sort of thing, rather than having a holistic overview of what your skills are about. I just wondered if you share that view.
Well, I'm not going to comment on other people's programmes.
No, I appreciate it.
What I will say is that the programmes that you've seen over the years are now being shown all over the world. And I go to great lengths to show things as they really are. And the measure of that has been, for me, well, it's wonderful for me to see an audience of people who like the programmes. Thank you. But the most important thing for me is when I go to an Inuit community or Canadian Indian community and they say thank you for showing it as it actually is. And that's happened twice in the last technology. It's happened twice in the last 6 months. That to me counts for more than anything, and it makes it all worthwhile.